Hold on. It's doing this thing. Okay. It says I'm live. Okay. I'm live on both places now. Top of the day, everybody. Top of the day. It's cold out there. You know what? There was like a little cold front that came through here, Thailand. The other day was like freezing cold. It got down to like the 20s at night. But it's been warm back up over the last couple of days. So it's all right here. It's a little chilly out there this morning, but it's in the last couple of days it's been like the 50s, felt like 60s a couple of days. Top of the day, everybody. Top of the day. Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday. I'll write my little note in here real quick. Oh, Enoch. 7th. Okay, y'all. Happy Saturday. It is December the 26th. Guys, we're about to start 2021. 2021 in a few days. This has been a crazy, fast year. It is December 26, 2020, day 34 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, also known as the Book of Instruction. And of the 3-year consecutive day count, we are on day 703. All right, y'all. So today, we are going to be learning about where the wind is kept and it's held and where it releases from, right? So we're going to start at Enoch chapter 77. So let's go ahead and get started. Guys, this morning was one of the mornings where I didn't want to roll myself out of bed. I really didn't feel like it. The sleep was feeling so good. And I actually slept a little longer last night. I'm like, oh, man. I was like, oh, Saturday. Nope, still got to get up. So I'm like in a habit now, like, Pam, get up, just go. As soon as you get out the bed, you just got to go. As soon as you get up, you know you can keep going. Once I get up and I'm moving, I know I'm not going to lay back down, so I just got to talk myself into getting out of the bed, So once my feet hit the floor, water hits my face or over my whole body, that's it. I'm up for the day. It's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon to me, and I'm just on the road. All right, y'all, so let's get started. I have those mornings just like everybody else. I know some people like, girl, you just be going. I'm like, y'all don't know the struggle. Some mornings I don't want to get up. I got to make myself get up. I got to talk to myself just like everybody else. Some mornings is tough. And this morning was one of them mornings, but I'm on the road now. So got myself up, moved through the house, shower, got my exercise done. Well, not in that order. Got my exercise and then I shower, All right, y'all. So here we go. Enoch chapter 77. The first wind is called, hold on, wait, no. What did I say, 77? No, I didn't jump the hole. We're supposed to be at 76. Hold on, y'all. So I'm sorry, 76. Did we read 76 yesterday? I wrote down that we read 76, but I don't remember reading 76. Hold on, y'all. Third gate. You know what? Oh, we did, because I remember ending it with my son Methuselah. I was right. We're starting at 77. Okay, I'm tripping. Okay, I'm glad I remember that part. We did. We read 76 yesterday, so we're reading 77. I was right. Okay, Enoch chapter 77. The first wind is called the eastern because it is the first. The second is called the south because El Elyon there descends, and frequently there descends and is blessed forever. The western wind has the name of diminution because there all the luminaries of heaven are diminished and descend. The fourth wind, which is named the north, is divided into 3 parts, one of which is for the habitation of man, another for seas of water, with valleys, woods, rivers, shady places, and snow, and the third part, paradise. 7 high mountains I beheld, higher than all the mountains of the earth, from which frost proceeds, while days, seasons, and years depart and pass away. 7 rivers I beheld upon earth, greater than all rivers, one of which takes its course from the west into a great sea, its water flows. 2 come from the north to the sea, their waters flowing into the Erythraean Sea on the east. And with respect to the remaining 4, they take their course in the cavity of the north 2 to their sea, the Erythraean Sea, and 2 are poured into the great sea, where also there it is a desert, where it is said is a desert. 7 great islands I saw in the sea and on the earth, 7 in the great sea. Now, I'm not going to say I know where all these places are. I really don't. I really wish I did. I got some theories, but we're not going to talk theory right now. But, that's a good chapter to remember. Enoch chapter 77. There are some things that I've gotten, some things that have been alluded to in some places I've looked at. I'm like, wait, is this the place? But we're not going to talk theory. We don't really know. But read that again. Enoch chapter 78. The names of the sun are these. One, Aryares, the other, Tomas. The moon has 4 names. The first is Asonia, the second, Ebla, the third, Benes, and the fourth, Ere. These are the 2 great luminaries whose orbs are as the orbs of heaven, and the dimensions of both are equal. Remember, we said sun and the moon are the same exact size. Let's repeating it here again. In the orb of the sun are 7 parts of light, which are added to it more than the moon. By measure, it is put in until the 7th portion of the sun is departed. They enter into the western gate, circuit by the north, and through the eastern gate go forth over the face of heaven. When the moon rises, it appears in heaven, and the half of a 7th portion of light is all in it. In 14, the whole of its light is completed. 3 quintuples light is put into it until 15, its light is completed according to the signs of the year. It has 3 quintuples. The moon has a half of a 7th portion. During its diminution on the first day, its light decreases a 14th part. On the second day, it decreases a 13th part, and on the third day, a 12th part. On the 4th day, an 11th part. On the 5th day, a 10th part. On the 6th day, a 9th part. On the 7th day, it decreases an 8th part. On the 8th day, it decreases a 7th part. On the 9th day, it decreases a 6th part. On the 10th day, it decreases a 5th part. On the 11th day, it decreases a 4th part. On the 12th day, it decreases a 3rd part. On the 13th day, it decreases a 2nd part. On the 14th day, it decreases a half of its 7th part, and on the 15th day, the whole remainder of its light is consumed. On stated months, the moon has 29 days. It also has a period of 28 days. Uriel likewise showed me another regulation when light is poured into the moon, how it is poured into it from the sun. So the moon gets her light from the sun. Hey, oh my gosh, the shimmer. Thank you, Trina. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Didn't do it. Oh my gosh. Lord, I'm going to have to write me a note on my laptop. Thank you for that. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, y'all. Got to do the shimmer again. Thank you, Trina. We're going to do it as soon as we get done with Enoch. I'm glad I looked up. Okay. When it is wholly extinguished, its light is consumed in heaven, and on the first day it is called new moon, for on that day light is received into it. It becomes precisely completed on the day that the sun descends into the west, while the moon ascends at night from the east. The moon then shines all the night until the sun rises before it, when the moon disappears in turn before the sun. Where light comes into the moon, there again it decreases until all its light is extinguished and the days of the moon pass away. Then its orb remains solitary without light. During the 3 months, it affects in 30 days its period, and during 3 months, it affects it in 29 days each, in which it decreases its first period, and in the first gate in 177 days. And at the time of its going forth during 3 months, it appears 30 days each. And during 3 months, it appears 29 days each. In the night, it appears for each 20 as a man. And in the days as heaven. And in the day as heaven for it is nothing else except its light. And I know that may have just kind of like, what did you just say? But it's just giving more details on the moon on how she feels and how she decreases in light each day, how much light she get, and as she begins to lose her light as the month is ending, how much light is lost and how many days she has and how many. So it talks about it has 30 days, 29 days, and 28 days. So doing it, that's including like the transition periods, the day she has light, the day she's dark, you know. So we're not going to get into the details of each one, but that's what it's talking about. Okay, Enoch chapter 79. And now, my son Methuselah, I have showed you everything, and every ordinance of the stars of heaven is finished. He showed me every ordinance respecting these, which is at all times and in all seasons, under every influence in all years, and at the arrival and under the rule of each, during every month and every week. Also the decrees of the moon, which is effected in the sixth gate, for in that sixth gate its light is consumed. From this is the beginning of the month, and it decreases, and its decrease is effected in the sixth gate in its period until 177 days are completed, according to the mode of calculation by weeks, 25 and 2 days. It is less than that of the sun, according to the ordinance of the stars, by 5 days and 1 time precisely. When that visible situation is complete, when that visible situation is completed, such is the appearance and the likeness of every luminary which Uriel, the great angel who conducts them, showed to me. All right, y'all, last chapter for the Book of Enoch. In those days, Uriel answered and said to me, behold, I have shown you all things, O Enoch, and all things I have revealed to you. You see the sun, the moon, and those which conduct the stars of heaven, which cause all their operations, seasons, and arrivals to return. In the days of sinners, the years shall be shortened. Their seed shall be backward in their prolific soil, and everything done on earth shall be subverted and disappear in its season. The rain shall be restrained, and heaven shall stand still. In those days the fruits of the earth shall be late, and not flourish in their season. And in their season the fruit of the trees shall be withered. The moon shall change its laws, and not be seen at its proper period. But in those days shall heaven be seen, and barrenness shall take place in the borders of the great chariots in the west. It shall shine more than the orders of light, while many chiefs among the stars of authority shall err, perverting their ways and works. Those shall not appear in their season, who commanded them, and all the classes of the stars shall be shut up against sinners. The thoughts of those who dwell on the earth shall transgress within them, and they shall be perverted in all their ways. They shall transgress and think themselves gods, while evil shall be multiplied among them, and punishment shall come upon them, so that all of them shall be destroyed. So we know we're going headlong first into these days right here that it's talking about in chapter 80. All right, y'all. Let's hop and do the Shema. I'm so sorry, y'all. It's a new habit, new habit I'm trying to implement. Some days, thank you, Trina, I forget. I really have to make myself a note and like tape it up here. I'm gonna do that today. I promise you, I'm gonna tape that up here today. Shema, tape it right up there. That way I don't forget it again. So let's hop over there really quick. Notice Shema is found in Deuteronomy chapter 6. All right. Boom, pull that up. Hear therefore, Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with thee, and that ye may increase mightily, as the Lord God of our fathers has promised thee, in the land that floweth with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah our God, he is one God. And you shall love Yahuwah thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thy house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thy hand, and they shall be as frontlets between thy eyes, and thou shalt write them upon the posts of thy house and upon thy gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do these statutes, to fear our God for our good always, that he might preserve us alive, as it is this day, and it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah our God, as he has commanded us. All right, beautiful people. So let's go ahead and hop right over here to the legends of the Jews. Okay, so also what was brought to my attention, some of you have ordered the book, but some of your books are smaller. I guess they printed a smaller version than this. See how big this is? Some of you have a smaller version, and with it being smaller pages, the page numbers are different. So for the ones who have the same size, I'm calling out the page number, but also the section, because it may be off by a couple pages, the section of what we're reading, simply because it's smaller. So less goes on the page, but more goes on the bigger page. All right, y'all. So we are starting on right here. Page. I'm in my spot. Okay. Volume 1, chapter 60, and the section is the birth of Abraham. So it may be like 62 or 63 for the ones with the smaller books. I'm not sure, but it's the section, the birth of Abraham, volume 1. All right, y'all. All right. Terah, remember Terah is Abraham's father. Okay. Terah married Imtali, the daughter of Carnabo, and the offspring of their union was Abraham. His birth had been read in the stars by Nimrod, for this impious king was a cunning astrologer, and it was manifest to him that a man would be born in his day who would rise up against him and triumphantly give the lie to his religion. In his terror at the fate foretold him in the stars, he sent for his princes and governors and asked them to advise him in the matter. They answered and said, our unanimous advice is that thou shalt build a great house, station a guard, and entrance thereof, and make known to the whole of thy realm that all pregnant women shall repair thither together with their midwives, who are to remain with them until they are delivered. When the days of a woman to be delivered are fulfilled, and the child is born, it shall be the duty of the midwife to kill it, if it be a boy. But if the child be a girl, it shall be kept alive, and the mother shall receive gifts and costly garments, and a herald shall proclaim, thus is done unto the woman who bears a daughter. The king was pleased with this counsel, and he had a proclamation published throughout the whole of his kingdom, summoning all the architects to build a great house for him, 60 ells high and 80 wide. After it was completed, he ensued a second proclamation, summoning all pregnant women thither, and there they were to remain until their confinement. Officers were appointed to take the women to the house, and guards were stationed in and about it to prevent the women from escaping thence. He furthermore sent midwives to the house and commanded them to slay the men children at their mother's breasts. But if the woman bore a girl, she was arrayed in byssus, silk, and embroidered garments, and led from the house of detention among great honors. No less than 70,000 children were slaughtered thus. Then the angels appeared before Yahuwah and spoke, seest thou not what he do? This sinner and blasphemer, Nimrod, son of Canaan, who slays so many innocent babies that have done no harm. Yahuwah answered and said, ye holy angels, I know it and I see it, for I neither slumber nor sleep. I behold and I know the secret things and the things that are revealed, and ye shall witness what I shall do unto this sinner and blasphemer, for I will turn my hand against him to chastise him. It was about this time that Terah espoused the mother of Abraham, and she was with child. When her body grew large at the end of 3 months of pregnancy, her countenance became pale. Terah said to her, what ails thee, my wife, that thy countenance is so pale, that thy body be so swollen? She answered and said, every year I suffer with this malady. But Terah would not be put off thus. He insisted, show me thy body. It seems to me that thou art big with child. If it be so, it behooves us not to violate the command of our God Nimrod. When he passed his hand over her body, there happened a miracle. The child rose until it lay beneath her breast, and Terah could feel nothing with his hands. He said to his wife, Thou didst speak truly, and came naught became visible until the day of her delivery. When her time approached, she left the city in great terror and wandered toward the desert, walking along the edge of a valley when she happened across the cave. She entered this refuge, and on the next day she was seized with throes and gave birth to a son. The whole cave was filled with the light of the child's countenance, as with the splendor of the sun, and the mother rejoiced exceedingly. The babe she bore was our father Abraham. His mother lamented and said to her son, Alas, that I bore thee at a time when Nimrod is king. For thy sake, 70,000 men children were slaughtered, and I am seized with terror on account of thee, that he hear of thy existence and slay thee. Better thou should perish here in this cave than my eyes should behold thee dead at my breast. She took the garment which she was clothed and wrapped it about the boy. Then she abandoned him in a cave, saying, May Yahuwah be with thee, and may he not fail thee or forsake thee. The next section, the babe proclaims Yahuwah. Thus Abraham was deserted in the cave without a nurse, and he began to wail. Yahuwah sent Gabriel down to give him milk to drink, and the angel made it flow from the little finger of the baby's right hand, and he sucked it until he was 10 days old. Then he arose and walked about. I'm like, this is none of one of them things. I'm like, okay, some supernatural stuff is happening here. Baby 10 days old. I look at my babies at 10 days old. Matter of fact, I got a grandchild. Now she's older than that. But y'all get what I'm saying. They still just not doing much. They ain't rolling around or nothing. He got up and he walked 10 days. Then he arose and walked about and left the cave and went along the edge of the valley. When the sun sank, the stars came forth, and he said, These are the gods. But the dawn came, and the stars could not be seen any longer. Then he said, I will not pay worship to these, for they are no gods. Thereupon the sun came forth, and he spoke, This is my God, and I will extol him. But again the sun set, and he said, He is no God. And beholding the moon, he called her his God, to whom he would pay divine homage. Then the moon was obscured, and he cried out, This too is no God. There is one who sets them all in motion. He was still communing with himself when the angel Gabriel approached him and met him with the greeting, Peace be with thee. And Abraham returned, With thee be peace, and asked, Who art thou? And Gabriel answered and said, I am the angel Gabriel, the messenger of Yahuwah. And he led Abraham to a spring of water nearby, and Abraham washed his face and his hands and his feet, and he prayed to Yahuwah, bowing down and prostrating himself. He's still 10 days old now. Meantime, this is one of them things I'm like, I put it, remember we talked about the crap? Take it and put it in my what the crap bucket. Now, I'm not saying this stuff can't happen. I'm just saying, we reading along. Good day, Aliyah, Natasha, Nini. Hey, girl. Hey. Okay, we keep reading. I am the angel Gabriel, the messenger of Yahuwah. And he led Abraham to a spring of water nearby, and Abraham washed his face and his hands and his feet, and he prayed to Yahuwah, bowing down and prostrating himself. Meantime, the mother of Abraham thought of him in sorrow and tears, and she went forth from the city to seek him in the cave in which she had abandoned him. Not finding her son, she wept bitterly and said, Woe unto me that I bore thee, but to become a prey of wild beasts, the bears, the lions, and the wolves. She went to the edge of the valley, and there she found her son, but she did not recognize him, for he had grown very large. She addressed the lad, Peace with thee, and he returned, With thee be peace. And he continued, Unto what purpose did thou come to the desert? She replied, I went forth from the city to seek my son. Abraham questioned further, Who brought thy son hither? And the mother replied thereto, I had become pregnant from my husband Terah, and when the days of my delivery were fulfilled, I was in anxiety about my son in my womb, lest our king come, the son of Canaan, and slay him as he had slain the 70,000 other men children. Scarcely had I reached the cave in this valley when the throes of travailing seized me, and I bore a son, whom I left behind in the cave, and I went home again. Now I am come to seek him, but I cannot find him. Abraham then spoke, As to this child thou tellest of, how old was it? The mother, it was about 20 days old. Abraham, is there a woman in the world who would forsake her newborn son in the desert and come to seek him after 20 days? The mother, peradventure, Yahuwah will show himself a merciful God. Abraham, I am the son whom thou hast come to seek in this valley. The mother, my son, how art thou grown? But 20 days old, thou can already walk and talk, and you can already walk and talk with thy mouth? Abraham, so it is, and thus, O my mother, it is made known unto thee that there is in the world a great, terrible, living, and ever existing God, who doth see but cannot be seen. He is in the heavens above, and the whole earth is full of his glory. The mother, my son, is there a God besides Nimrod? Abraham, yes, mother, the God of heaven and the God of the earth. He is also the God of Nimrod, the son of Canaan. And if you remember, Nimrod had everybody super spooked because remember, he wore those garments, those magical garments that Yahuwah made for Adam, and it was passed down. Remember, Ham stole them, and he passed them down through his lineage, and Nimrod got him, and when he put him on, it made him a great and mighty person. So everybody, and he proclaimed himself, and he set himself up as a God, and he began to do some of those supernatural things. So everybody was like, well, he ain't seen nothing else. He must be God. All this he's doing, he must be God. So everybody during that day was worshiping Nimrod, right? Okay, just make sure you're tracking with me. All right. Abraham, yes, mother, the God of the heavens and the God of the earth. He is also the God of Nimrod, the son of Canaan. Go therefore and carry this message unto Nimrod. The mother of Abraham returned to the city and told her husband Terah how she had found their son. Terah, who was a prince and a magnate in the house of the king, betook himself to the royal palace and cast himself down before the king upon his face. It was the ruler that one who prostrated himself before the king. It was the rule that one who prostrated himself before the king was not permitted to lift up his head until the king bade him lift it up. Nimrod gave permission to Terah to raise and state his request. Thereupon Terah related all that happened with his wife and his son. When Nimrod heard his tale, abject fear seized upon him, and he asked his counselors and princes what to do with the lad. They answered and said, our king and our God, wherefore art thou in fear by reason of a little child? There are myriads upon myriads of princes in thy realm, rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, and rulers of tens, and overseers without number. Let the pettiest of the princes go and fetch the boy and put him in prison. But the king interposed, have ye ever seen a baby of 20 days old walking with his feet and speaking with his mouth and proclaiming with his tongue that there is a God in heaven who is one and none beside him, and who sees and is not seen? Even all of them knew. Even, look, they proclaiming Yahuwah is one God. There is no other God besides Yahuwah himself. Everybody else may claim to be a God, and they may claim they worship other gods, but even they say that there is one God. Get them in the corner. Oh, yeah, it's one God. I am no God. All right, listen. But the king interposed, have ye ever seen a baby of 20 days walking with his feet, speaking with his mouth, and proclaiming with his tongue that there is a God in heaven who is one, and none besides him, who sees and is not seen? All the assembled princes were horror struck at these words. At this time, Satan in human form appeared, clad in black silk garb, and he cast himself down before the king. Nimrod said, rise thy head and state thy request. Satan asked the king, why art thou terrified, and why are all ye in fear on the account of a little lad? I will counsel thee what thou shalt do. Open thy arsenal and give weapons unto all the princes, chiefs, and governors, and to all the warriors, and send them to fetch him unto thy service and to be under thy dominion. Apparently, Satan knew what's about to go down. He said, look, you better arm them with the best of the weapons you got and send all of them with all the weapons y'all got to go get this little boy. This advice given by Satan, the king accepted and followed. He sent a great armed host to bring Abraham to him. When the boy saw the army approach him, he was sore afraid, and amid tears he implored Yahuwah for help. In answer to his prayer, Yahuwah sent the angel Gabriel to him, and he said, "Be not afraid and disquieted, for Yahuwah is with thee. He will rescue thee out of the hands of all thine adversaries." Yahuwah commanded Gabriel to put thick, dark clouds between Abraham and his assailants. Dismayed by the heavy clouds, they fled, returning to Nimrod, their king, and they said to him, "Let us depart and leave this realm." And the king gave money unto all his princes and his servants, and together with the king, they departed and journeyed to Babylon. They said, "Yep, nope, you see them clouds? That's unnatural. We out of here. Let's go, king." Abraham's first appearance in public. Now Abraham, at the command of Yahuwah, was ordered by the angel Gabriel to follow Nimrod to Babylon. He objected that he was in no wise equipped to undertake a campaign against the king, but Gabriel calmed him with the words, "Thou needest no provision for the way, no horse to ride upon, no warriors to carry on war with Nimrod, no chariots nor riders. Do thou but sit thyself upon my shoulder, and I shall bear thee to Babylon." Abraham did as he was bidden, and in the twinkling of an eye, he found himself before the gates of the city of Babylon. At the behest of the angel, he entered into the city, and he called unto the dwellers therein with a loud voice, "The eternal, he is the one and only God, and there is none besides. He is the God of the heavens and the God of the gods, and the God of Nimrod. Acknowledge this as the truth, all ye men, women, and children. Acknowledge also that I am Abraham, his servant, the trusted steward of his house." Abraham met his parents in Babylon, and also he saw the angel Gabriel, who bade him proclaim the true faith to his father and his mother. Therefore Abraham spake to them and said, "Ye serve a man of your own kind, and ye pay worship to an image of Nimrod. Know ye not that it has a mouth, but it speaks not, an eye, but it sees not, an ear, but it hears not, nor does it walk upon its feet, and there is no profit in it, either unto itself or unto others." When Terah heard these words, he persuaded Abraham to follow him into the house, where his son told him all that had happened, and how in one day he had completed a 40 days journey. Terah thereupon went to Nimrod and reported to him that his son had suddenly appeared in Babylon. The king sent for Abraham, and he came before him with his father. Abraham passed the magnates and the dignitaries until he reached the royal throne, upon which he seized hold, shaking it and crying out with a loud voice, "O Nimrod, thou contemptible wretch, that deniest the essence of faith, that deniest the living and immutable God, and Abraham his servant, the trusted steward of his house. Acknowledge him and repeat after me the words, the eternal God is the only one, and there is none besides. He is incorporeal, living, ever existing. He slumbers not and sleeps not, who created the world that men might believe in him, and confess also concerning me, and say that I am the servant of Yahuwah and the trusted steward of his house." While Abraham proclaimed this with a loud voice, the idols fell upon their faces, and with them also King Nimrod. For a space of 2 hours and a half, the king lay lifeless, and when his soul returned upon him, he spoke and said, "Is it thy voice, O Abraham, or the voice of thy God?" And Abraham answered and said, "This voice is the voice of the least of all creatures called into existence by Yahuwah." Thereupon Nimrod said, "Verily, the God of Abraham is the great and powerful God, the King of all kings." And he commanded Terah to take his son and remove him and return him again unto his own city. And father and son did as the king had ordered. The preacher of the true faith. We're in the next section. This part about not worshiping the sun and the moon or in Jasher, but he's an adult. Yeah, it is, isn't it? Okay. All right, y'all. But read it again closely, Tiffany. All right, y'all. When Abraham attained the age of 20 years, his father Terah fell ill. He spoke as follows to his sons, Haran and Abraham. I adjure you by your lives, my sons, sell these two idols for me, for I have not enough money to meet our expenses. Haran executed the wish of his father, but if anyone accosted Abraham to buy an idol from him and asked him the price, he would answer 3 mannas. And then in question in turn, how old art thou? 30 years, they would reply. 30 art Thou art 30 years of age, and yet thou would worship this idol which I made but today. The man would depart and go his way. And another would approach Abraham and ask, how much is this idol? And Abraham would say, 5 mannas. And again, Abraham would put the question, how old art thou? 50 years. And dost thou who art 50 years of age bow down before this idol which was made but today? Thereupon the man would depart and go his way. Abraham then took 2 idols, put a rope about their necks, and with their faces turned downward, he dragged them along the ground, crying aloud all the time, who will buy an idol wherein there is no profit, either unto itself or unto him that buys it in order to worship it? It has a mouth, but it speaketh not, eyes, but it seeth not, feet, but it walketh not, ears, but it heareth not. The people who heard Abraham were amazed exceedingly at his words. As he went through the streets, he met an old woman who approached him with the purpose of buying an idol, good and big, to be worshipped and loved. Old woman, said Abraham, I know no profit therein, either in the big ones or the little ones, either unto themselves or unto others. And he continued to speak to her. What has become of the big image that thou didst buy from my brother Haran to worship it? Thieves, she replied, came in the night and stole it while I was still at the bath. If it be thus, Abraham went on questioning her, how canst thou pay homage to an idol that cannot save itself from thieves, let alone save others, like thyself, thou silly old woman, out of misfortune? How is it possible for thee to say that the image that thou worship is a god? If it be a god, why did it not save itself out of the hands of those thieves? Nay, in the idols there is no profit, either unto itself or unto him that adores it. The old woman rejoiced. If what thou sayest be true, whom shall I serve? Serve the God of all gods, returned Abraham, the Lord of lords, who have created heaven and earth, the sea and all therein, the God of Nimrod and the God of Terah, the God of the east, the west, the south, and the north. Who is Nimrod, the dog, who calleth himself a god, that worship be offered unto him? Abraham succeeded in opening the eyes of the old woman, and she became a zealous missionary for the true God. When she discovered the thieves who had carried off her idol and they restored it to her, she broke it in pieces with a stone. And as she wandered her way through the streets, she cried aloud, who would save his soul from destruction and be prosperous in all his doings? Let him serve the God of Abraham. Thus she converted many men and many women to the true belief. Isaiah, wait a minute. Rumors of the words and deeds of the old woman reached the king, and he sent for her. When she appeared before him, he rebuked her harshly, asking her how she dared serve any god but himself. The old woman replied, thou art a liar. Thou deniest the essence of faith, the one only God, besides whom there is no other God. Thou livest upon his bounty, but thou payest worship to another, and thou dost repudiate him and his teachings, and Abraham his servant. The old woman had to pay for her zeal for the faith with her life. Nevertheless, the great fear and terror took possession of Nimrod, because the people became more and more attached to the teachings of Abraham, and he knew not how to deal with the man who was undermining the old faith. At the advice of his princes, he arranged a 7-day festival at which all the people were bidden to appear in their robes of state, their gold and silver apparel. By such display of wealth and power, he expected to intimidate Abraham and bring him back to the faith of the king. Through his father Terah, Nimrod invited Abraham to come before him that he might have the opportunity of seeing his greatness and wealth and the glory of his dominion and the multitude of his princes and attendants. But Abraham refused to appear before the king. On the other hand, he granted his father's request that in his absence he sit by his idols and the kings and take care of them, along with the idols. And while he repeated the words, the eternal, he is God, the eternal, he is God, he struck the king's idols from their thrones and began to belabor them with an axe. With the biggest he started, and with the smallest he ended. He hacked off the feet of one, and the other he beheaded. This one had the eyes struck out, the other had his hands crushed. After all were mutilated, he went away, having first put the axe in the hand of the largest idol. The feast ended, the king returned, and when he saw all his idols shivered in pieces, he inquired who had perpetrated the mischief. Abraham was named as the one who had been guilty of the outrage, and the king summoned him and questioned him as to his motive for the deed. Abraham replied, I did not do it. It was the largest of the idols who shattered all the rest. Seeing thou not that he still has the axe in his hand? And if thou would not believe my words, ask him, and he will tell thee. Okay, y'all, we'll go to the next section about the fiery furnace. Okay, the section is called In the Fiery Furnace for those that are following along. Now, the king was exceedingly wroth at Abraham and ordered him to be cast into prison, where he commanded the warden not to give him bread or water. But Yahuwah hearkened unto the prayer of Abraham and sent Gabriel to him in his dungeon. For a year, the angel dealt with him and provided him all sorts of food, and a spring of fresh water welled up before him, and he drank it. At the end of a year, the magnates, I think it's supposed to say the magistrates, but it says magnates. Okay, but I'm gonna just say magnates, but I think it's magistrates, y'all. I think it's the same thing though. I just feel weird saying magnates. And the magnates of the realm presented themselves before the king and advised him to cast Abraham into the fire, that the people might believe in Nimrod forever. Thereupon the king issued a decree that all the subjects of the king in all his provinces, men and women, young and old, should bring wood within 40 days. And he caused it to be thrown into a great furnace and set afire. The flames shot up to the skies, and the people were sore afraid of the fire. Now the warden of the prison was ordered to bring Abraham forth and cast him into the flames. The warden reminded the king that Abraham had not had food or drink a whole year, and therefore must be dead. But Nimrod nevertheless desired him to step in front of the prison and call his name. If he made reply, he was to be hauled out to the fire. If he had perished, his remains were to receive burial, and his memory was to be wiped out henceforth. Greatly amazed, the warden was when his cry, Abraham, art thou alive, was answered with, I am living. He questioned further, who has been bringing thee food and drink all these many days? And Abraham replied, food and drink have been bestowed upon me by him who is over all things, the God of all gods and the Lord of all lords, who alone doeth wonders. He who is the God of Nimrod and the God of Terah, the God of the whole world. He dispenseth food and drink unto all beings. He sees, but he cannot be seen. He is in the heavens above, and he is present in all places, for he himself supervises all things and provides for all. The miraculous rescue of Abraham from death by starvation and thirst convinced the prison keeper of the truth of Yahuwah and his prophet Abraham, and he acknowledged his belief in both publicly. The king's threat of death, unless he recanted, could not turn him away from his new and true faith. When the hangman raised his sword and set it at his throat to kill him, he exclaimed, the eternal, he is God, the God of the whole world as of the blasphemer Nimrod. But the sword could not cut his flesh. The harder it was pressed against his throat, the more it broke into pieces. Nimrod, however, was not to be turned aside from his purpose, to make Abraham suffer death by fire. One of the princes was dispatched to fetch him forth, but scarcely did the messenger set about the task of throwing him into the fire when the flame leapt forth from the furnace and consumed him. Y'all are ready to cut into that pie, ain't you? Leave it alone. Wait a minute. I'm gonna cut you a piece.
No, I did.
I know you trying to. Leave it alone, girl.
I'm ready to do it.
I know you ready to. You better not. I'm gonna send you upstairs with your daddy. Wait till I'm done. And then I'll let you cut. We'll cut it together, okay?
Oh, you can't.
Yes, I can.
You can't.
Don't you cut it. All right, y'all. Let me hear you. They're gonna cut into this pie. All right. Many more attempts were made to cast Abraham into the furnace, but always
Pick that up.
with the same.
Stupid.
You better quit calling names.
She made this fall.
You should have said it there. It shouldn't be there, Isaiah. Okay, y'all. I'm not playing. Give me 1 second, y'all. Upstairs. Come on, let's go. You're being hard-headed. Let's go. Put it down. Go. Yep. Close it back up. And get down. Upstairs. Go.
I
Go.
want to
1 second, y'all. Come on. Hey. Bella coming upstairs, go. Watch out. Come on.
This.
No, move. I told you to wait. Take it. I'm gonna take it and lock it up. Don't play with me. All right, sorry. Okay, what was I at? The man, he tried to cut his throat. Okay, let me find my place, y'all. I'm sorry. Okay, I found it. Sorry, y'all. I can't stand up. Sorry. Okay. One of the princes was dispatched to fetch him forth, but scarcely did the messenger set about the task of throwing him into the fire when the flame leapt forth from the furnace and consumed him. Many more attempts were made to cast Abraham into the furnace, but always with the same success. Whoever seized him to pitch him in was himself burnt, and a large number of their lives lost. Satan appeared in human shape and advised the king to place Abraham in a catapult. Place Abraham in a catapult and sling him into the fire. Thus, no one would be required to come near the flame. Satan himself constructed the catapult, having proved it fit 3 times by means of stones put into the machine. They bound Abraham hand and foot and were about to consign him into the flames. At that moment, Satan, still disguised in human shape, approached Abraham and said, "If thou desirest to deliver thyself from the fire of Nimrod, bow down before him and believe in him." But Abraham rejected the temper with the words, "May the Eternal rebuke thee, thou vile, contemptible, accursed blasphemer." And Satan departed from him. Then the mother of Abraham came to him and implored him to pay homage to Nimrod and escape the impending misfortune. But he said to her, "O mother, water can extinguish Nimrod's fire, but the fire of Yahuwah will not die out forevermore. Water cannot quench it." When his mother heard these words, she spake, "May the God whom thou servest rescue thee from the fire of Nimrod." Abraham was finally placed in a catapult, and he raised his eyes heavenward and spoke, "O Lord my God, thou seest what this sinner purposes to do unto me." Tiny lady.
Mine got froze.
His confidence in Yahuwah was unshaken. When the angels received divine permission to save him, and Gabriel approached him and asked, "Abraham, shall I save thee from the fire?" He replied, "God in whom I trust, the God of heaven and earth, will rescue me." And God, seeing the submissive spirit of Abraham, commanded the fire, "Cool off and bring tranquility to my servant Abraham." No water was needed to extinguish the fire. The logs burst into buds, and all different kinds of wood put forth fruit, each bearing fruit of its own kind. The furnace was transformed into a royal pleasance, and the angels sat therein with Abraham. When the king saw the miracle, he said, "Great witchcraft! Thou makest it known that the fire hath no power over thee, And the same time thou showest thyself unto the people sitting in a pleasure garden. But the princes of Nimrod interpose all with one voice. Nay, our Lord, this is not witchcraft. This is the power of the great God of Abraham, besides whom there is no other God. And we acknowledge that he is our God, and Abraham is his servant. All the princes and all the people believed in Yahuwah at this hour, in the eternal, the God of Abraham, and they all cried out, the Lord, he is God in heaven, above and upon the earth beneath. There is no one else. Abraham was the superior, not only of the impious king Nimrod and his attendants, but also of the pious men of his time, Noah, Shem, Eber, and Asher. Noah gave himself no concern whatsoever in the matter of spreading the pure faith in Yahuwah. He took, hey, cut it off. One more time, I'm sorry. One more time, I'm sorry. Both of you upstairs right now. Go. You can get it in a minute. Go. Right now. Do not come back down until I call you. They try my gangster. Sorry y'all had to hear it online, but hey, plot don't stop, and neither do they. Okay. Let's go back up the sentence, shall we? Okay. Abraham was a superior, not only of the impious king Nimrod and his attendants, but also of the pious men of his time, Noah, Shem, Eber, and Asher. Noah gave himself no concern whatsoever in the matter of spreading the pure faith in Yahuwah. He took an interest in planting his vineyard and was immersed in material pleasures. Shem and Eber kept in hiding. As for Asher, he said, how can I live among such sinners? And departed out of the land. The only one who remained unshaken was Abraham. I will not forsake Yahuwah, he said. And therefore, Yahuwah did not forsake him. Man, I be reading this. I be getting so hyped. I'm like, yes, these days are coming back. Father, may you know me as you knew your servant Abraham and call me your friend. Oh my gosh, may my faith be unshaken like his. I be getting so hyped, y'all. I will not forsake Yahuwah, he said, and therefore Yahuwah did not forsake him, who had hearkened neither unto his father nor unto his mother. The miraculous deliverance of Abraham from the fiery furnace, together with his later fortune, was the fulfillment of an explanation of what his father Terah had read in the stars. He had seen the star of Haran consumed by fire, and at the same time fill and rule the world. The meaning was plain now. Haran was irresolute in his faith. He could not decide whether to adhere to Abraham or to the idolaters. When it befell that those who would not serve idols were cast into the fiery furnace, Haran reasoned in this manner: Abraham, being my elder, will be called upon before me. If he comes forth out of the fiery trial triumphant, I will declare my allegiance to him. Otherwise, I will take sides against him. After Yahuwah himself had rescued Abraham from death, and Haran's turn came to make his confession of faith, he announced his adherence to Abraham. But scarcely had he come near the furnace when he was seized by the flames and consumed, because he was lacking in firm faith in Yahuwah. Now, if y'all read Jasher, y'all read this portion as well. Then you said you want some pie. They steady trying to cut it, y'all. But you will read the same story in Jasher when this whole fiery furnace scene is in the book of Jasher, and Haran, Abraham's brother, although he confessed Yahuwah, he was going back and forth because he said, okay, if Abraham saved, then I'm gonna go that way. But if not, I'm gonna go on back over here and serve Nimrod. So he didn't have that faith. It's like that. Yeah, if it don't work out for you, I ain't going that way. I'm gonna stay over here with what we've been doing, and because of that wavering faith, it wasn't solid. Like, even if he don't rescue you, Abraham, I'm still going in the same way of the God you serve. I'm still gonna go. If he don't rescue you, and that means he may not rescue me either, but I'm not gonna waver in my faith. And Haran did not have that unwavering faith like Abraham did. That's why Abraham was saved and Haran was not. So we have to be very careful. We have to daily strengthen our faith in Yahuwah. where it doesn't lack. And it's a process, especially when you come from a shaky foundation. It has to be rebuilt on solid truth. Everything that can be shaken will be shaken. That's why in the days where we can make our foundation solid, and everything that can be shaken must be shaken out. So what's left is solid truth, and it can remain, and we can build on a solid and stable foundation, y'all. We're going to need that in the days to come. But scarcely had he come near the furnace when he was seized by the flames and consumed, because he was lacking in firm faith in Yahuwah. Ra had read the stars well. It now appeared Haran was burnt, and his daughter Sarah became the wife of Abraham, whose descendants filled the earth. Excuse me. In another way, the death of Haran was noteworthy. It was the first instance since the creation of the world of a son's dying while his father was still alive. The kings, the princes, and all the people who had been witnesses of the wonders done for Abraham came to him and prostrated themselves before him. But Abraham said, "Do not bow down before me, but before Yahuwah, the master of the universe who has created you. Serve him and walk in his ways. For he it was who delivered me from the flames, and he it is who hath created the soul and spirit of every human being, who formed man in the womb of his mother and bringeth him into the world. He saved from all sickness those who put their trust in him." The king then dismissed Abraham after loading him down with an abundance of precious gifts, among two of them slaves who had been raised in the royal palace. Ogi was the name of one, Eleazar the name of the other. The princes followed the example of the king, and they gave him silver and gold and gems. But all of these gifts did not rejoice the heart of Abraham so much as the 300 followers that joined him and became adherents of his religion. And that, my beautiful people, is our reading for today. That was Legends of the Jews, page 60 to 65. We'll pick up the rest of this here tomorrow. But anyway, y'all, I hope y'all enjoyed all the readings today. We read Enoch chapter 77 through 80. And like I just said, Legends of the Jews, volume 1, pages 60 to 65. And your page numbers may be different if you have the smaller book, because it was printed in a smaller size version. It's the same information, but the pages are different because the pages are smaller, so less information fit on those pages. All right, beautiful people. So let's hop on over here to the blessing. We'll go ahead and get about our day. All right. Remember, the blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Remember, the first 21 verses is the Nazarite vow, while Abraham's wife was his brother's wife first. Hold on, let me go back and read that, Dana. I totally missed that. I'm going to go back and read that. I'll comment on this when we're done. I just saw your comment. Okay. All right, y'all, pulling up the blessing here. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, "Speak unto Aaron and unto his son, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us his peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I shall bless them." All right, y'all. Let me see. Double check. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go back and read that after we get off his brother's daughter. Okay, that's what I was thinking. I was like, wait, his wife? I must miss that. Okay, I'm going to still go back there and read that. Yeah, that's why I thought it was his brother's daughter. Okay. All right, beautiful people. That's it. We got to get out of here. Y'all already hear my children in the background and stuff, so sorry for the interruptions and y'all hearing the mama voice, "Sit down," come out. So sorry about that, y'all, but hey, it is what it is. Love y'all. See y'all bright and early in the morning, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace.